one of the things that we talk about quite often is it doesn't matter how good you are, how experienced you are, how long you've been around guns. You have two kinds of violent encounters when it comes to guns.
Yeah.
You have a shooting and you have a shootout.
Yep.
And a shooting is where bullets are going one way, and a
Yep.
shootout is when bullets are going two ways. And if I can teach you three things that give you a quarter-second advantage, that could be the difference between you being in a shooting and a shootout. Who wouldn't want to learn those? And if you don't want
Yeah.
to learn those, you don't want to learn. And then we're
That's
probably
true.
not the place for you.
So when it comes to weapons themselves, Brother Clay really likes to use like the paintball style or the plastic BB style to
Sure,
train.
sure.
And I think that's really great as well. When I first seen it, I was like, I don't know about that. But then as you listen, and he makes tons of sense, hey, why would you go out and spend thousands of dollars in ammunition when you don't really have to? You're really trying to get muscle memory to doing what you're doing. So that,
Yeah.
if you buy a quality gun like that that shoots plastic balls, it makes sense to do it that way. What is something that you tell people about doing dry fire training? Because I noticed that my own self, and this is part of the other question I want to ask. USPSA, I got to go shoot, I don't know, for probably a year, maybe a year and a half, because I wanted to go somewhere where I could actually pull my weapon from holster and shoot while on the move, while under the buzzer. I
Right.
think the buzzer makes a huge difference because it's amazing what it changes. All of a sudden, the dynamic has completely changed. Now you're under the timer and you make mistakes. And luckily, because you're in an area where you got an NRO, you got your range officer there, they're watching everything that you do and they're making sure you don't flag anyone. So it's really good for training. And I think that people that are in these good guy with a gun style shootouts, those people typically have used their weapon before multiple times. It's not like some of the police departments, they qualify once a year, which is unbelievably crazy to me. But going out and shooting, the question would be is what's the dry fire training that you try to tell people? And then basically, do you think USPSA's got a great handle in some part of their training to maybe defend themselves?
Yeah. So the first part of your question, um, we we kind of we believe very heavily in a trifecta.
Hmm.
And we believe so heavily in it that we created an app to help people train at pro.wltac.com. This is a
Nice.
subscription app, um, but it's not super expensive really, and certainly worth looking at. But here's the trifecta: you dry practice to get good. Dry practice is what creates that memory, what informs the OODA process, to use a cliche,
Hmm.
so that you have a very informed, repeatable memory for those manual of arms when it comes to the firearm. So you get good through dry practice. And that dry practice, if you've got a blowback airsoft gun, whether it's
Yeah.
got BBs in it or not, um, that you can change mags out, manipulate, and get comfortable manipulating, that's pretty cool. That's a good thing to do. But even without it, uh, just repetition, repetition, repetition is how you get good. And then you go to the range to measure the effectiveness of your dry practice. So when I go to the range, I take one box of ammunition and a plan. From
Hmm.
from compress ready, I'm going to press out, pick up my sights, pick up my dot, whatever it is that I'm shooting that day, halfway out, target focus versus front sight focus, depending on what I'm working on, and I'm going to fire 3 rounds, and we'll see where they land. We'll see if my memory on that is good. Trigger manipulation, all those sorts of things. Have a plan when you go, and don't spend your ammunition foolishly. And then it doesn't take a lot of time and money to actually train and get some trigger time as well. And then you go to courses. That's the third piece. You go to courses to get people's eyes on you. Why do you do that? Is that a training scar? What is it? What could we do differently to make you more successful? Um,
Hmm.
and to teach you skills and tactics that you may not know or understand. everybody thinks they know a lot about skills and tactics, but they are a lot more regimented than people tend to believe. And
Hmm.
so I think courses are important as well. But all three of those things can make it so that you don't have to go to the range a ton, because the range isn't where you get good. The range is where you prove your training. And then you don't have to go to courses a ton either, because that's where you learn new stuff. So the second part of your question, I believe that everything that people argue about contributes to your survivability. Hunting contributes to your survivability. Training at courses and going to the range and dry practice contributes to your survivability. Doing competition contributes to your survivability. The caveat is, if you are successful at those things. If you
Certainly.
are not successful in competition, maybe it still contributes, but it probably doesn't contribute very much, because you are maybe out moving your ability to shoot. Um,
Sure.
uh, Gear matters, but not very much. And so I
Yeah.
think all of those things contribute to your survivability. And I think the arguments about which is better, or which does or doesn't, I think all of those are kind of dumb. Um,
Sure.
I don't think those arguments are fruitful. I think they're ego driven. Um, the competition guys that say that only competition matters are the competition guys, and the
Yeah.
hunters that only say hunting matters. I mean, but you think about it. If you can shoot, move, and communicate, which is what you have to be able to do in competition, that's that's cool. But there are things that get in, um, injected into that, because you only have a 180-degree range, and you've got berm restrictions
Yeah.
and things like that. So your safe directions aren't all the possible safe directions. Those things can invent training scars. Hunting, where you're stalking, you're having to move, uh, stealthily, you're having to camouflage yourself, you're having to use different kinds of weapons.
Yep.
Those things are super important when it comes to survivability, especially if we're talking about a world without rule of law, you know,
Yeah.
where you are your savior. And then, training is training. Training is learning. And if it's good training, it's good learning. And if it's bad training, it's bad learning. So
Yep.
that's my
Yeah.
thought on that.
To dovetail into that, even I think going out and being a little more physically fit and all that kind of stuff
Yeah.
goes into you saying almost every single day, hydrate or dihydrate.
Hydrated.
Um,
That's right.
yeah. And
Yeah.
also just going out and camping, like being in the outdoors. Because, like
Mhm.
you said, if it
Sure.
goes to the point where there's lawlessness everywhere,
Well,
um,
when you
you
camp,
may
you
not
have
be
to
able to stay where you're at.
absolutely. When you camp, you have to regulate your water consumption. You have to figure out food. You have to do a little bit of preparedness stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
a lot of
so
critical
like,
thinking goes involved.
all of that counts. All of that contributes to me. And I think get the widest breadth of training you can possibly get. Prepare yourself a little bit. Think critically. Most people think they're going to survive a world without rule of law, and I think that it's most people aren't going to survive it. And if you're the
Yeah,
guy surviving and you look like you're surviving pretty well, then you become a target. So community is a big deal, because you can't shepherd all of your resources by yourself 24 hours a day. It's not possible.
yeah,
It doesn't matter how remote you are, somebody's going to find you. So all of those things count.